And welcome to the Rugby Biz podcast. We are here to break down the Lions Test Series win in Melbourne at the MCG, winning at the last minute through a Hugo Keenan try. And talk all the controversy, all the back and forth between the Australian and the British and Irish media. And we'll also cover the women's box results against the Black Ferns development team, a little bit of Currie Cup, and also look at the Springbok squad for the test against Australia. I'm joined by Shaun and Kooks today because you know how controversial this is. We're going to try to look at all of the happenings from this game this weekend. So much that we can discuss from a Wallaby and a Lions side. Kooks, I think the first thing is this match is now officially the sixth biggest rugby union match in terms of attendance. And I mean, MCG was fantastic on Saturday. Obviously Australia has about 50,000 sporting stadiums because they have 50,000 sports. But yeah, they really can host something when they want to.
Yeah, I mean, as the guys, hello everyone. I must say that was the thing that I saw at the start of kickoff. I mean, obviously we had the lights down for the anthems, and then we saw when it came out, I mean, the MCG is an absolute proper arena. We've seen it for cricket on Boxing Day test, but they've been I mean, rugby basically arrived with that. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, over 9,000 people. There was a buzz. It was an electric. I must say, like as the game sort of started and the guys were walking out, you could just feel like you could feel like you're in for something special. Like the stadium was there, the lights are down. I mean, like the Wallabies were buzzing. I mean, if you're gonna host it, I know like we've seen like there's been this cricket at Eden Park, and Australia obviously have got lots of iconic stadiums. But if you're gonna host a game like that, a series decider, well, not a series decider, but the second game of the series, that's where you want it to be. It needs the right sort of stadium to bring out the showcase. I mean, and I think the game was just as good as the stadium and MCG 9,000 fans. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in terms of the match itself, I think it was about the Wallabies, pretty much putting their best foot forward for at least 40 odd minutes, or maybe let's say the first half. And, they got so close, which is obviously why there's all controversy about it as well, what the result was. But
We lost Thala.
I think Tyler froze.
I'm going to try and guess what he was asking. So I have a sneaky suspicion he wanted to ask about how the game went for the Aussies and what their plan was. For me, I'm winging it here. For me, it was, I think for the Wallabies, I know Kooks, we spoke a little bit off air. It was very clear that they had to go hard in the beginning and hold, and then kind of just park the bus in the second half. I feel that that was really the best plan that they could have executed, and I think they did really well. The biggest problem for me, I think, was very clearly the two tries they conceded at halftime. Like that was the biggest. I think that was the biggest gut punch ever. It changed everything for everybody. It changed the way the Wallabies carried themselves at halftime. It changed the way the Lions viewed that first half because could have been staring down the barrel. But yeah, I won't stop beating this drum, and I really feel the Wallabies were short an 80-minute game. Like this could have been their first test, and the second test could have brought so much more. They just weren't at the races in the first one, and yeah, it's a bit frustrating. But yeah, Thala is back. So Thala, I think I answered your question, but I don't know what it was.
No, I think you did, so don't worry about it. I think, guys, we have to start with the last play, the Hugo Keenan try. And we'll probably have to start with the most controversial part of it. Kooks, I'll bring you to this. Like, Jack Morgan tries to clear out Carlo Tizzano. Tizzano's basically trying to get to the ball. I mean, you can have his questions about his body position himself because, he's pretty much, his head is close to the ground as possible. He hasn't even got to the ball yet, but he's essentially trying to now start grabbing to the ball, and he gets to the rack first. For me, Morgan, when he clears out, he hits the top of the back more so than the shoulders or the neck, and wraps around, hits him there, and it's enough to obviously move Tizzano, and then Tizzano has a bit of a sneaky dive, just to give a bit of attention to it as well. But yeah, obviously that's now the debate that's shocking, or that's stopping the whole rugby world right now. Kooks, and I'm Shaun as well. How did you guys see it, Kooks?
I mean, for me, I thought, I mean, obviously, I genuinely think it's a 50-50 call. You look at how it's split the rugby world pretty much in terms of the guys are obviously going, they're saying Morgan didn't rap. They're going, again, see, when is at the top of is it, because they say obviously you can't hit above the shoulders, but Tizzano had done so well to win the shoulder battle. He had got a nice and low, and Morgan had to do even better to sort of try to hit the back of his back, the top of the back or the top of the shoulder blades to get him off there. And there's a complaint that Tizzano, because he was one thing I don't agree with PR is he said the guys got at the same time. I definitely do think Tizzano got there first, and then Morgan was slightly late. And he says like, no, he got there. The PR said that the players got at the same time, but I felt like Tizzano got there first. And the frustrating thing, if you're in the camp of Tizzano, people are going, yeah, but he had the rights to the ball. I'm like, no, he hadn't gone to the ball yet. And that's that's for me is the hard part where I'm like, you can make an argument for me as to why you should think you should go for Tizzano, or you can make an argument as to why it goes Jack Morgan. My thing is that Jack Morgan showed how you can clean when you have lost a shoulder battle. I thought it was a great clean. In real time, I saw it after a few replays as well. Like, guys, I'm like, this is a great clean. This is the clean where the guy does not have the ball in his hands properly. It's not like Tizzano. It was like holding, and then he got cleaned. It was Tizzano was first at the ball. It needed a one incredible clean, because if you Morgan, so much can go wrong. One mistake there, you're hitting on his head. Two, if you're not coming in that explosive the way Morgan is, you're just basically hitting the back of his back, and you'll be holding and holding and holding and holding. But I know some people were saying like this, the UK fans of the Lions fans, they're like, yeah, but Tizzano came from an offside position anyway, so he wouldn't have counted. I'm like, no, but a foul play supersedes everything. So whether Tizzano could have rolled there if he wanted to and been on the wrong side, but then if he gets it in the head, then it's foul play. But I thought it was a very good clean. It's very controversial. I must say for Mr. Pione, I thought it was a 50-50 call. It takes big balls to call that the TMO 9,000 fans at 1-0. Because the easiest thing, the safe option for the referee, right, is go, Oaks, penalty 1-1. Let's go sort out next week. I feel like, I still don't think who was it Jerome Garces who with that penalty against the All Blacks in 2017. That was still a mystery to me.
Pot, yeah.
Yeah, Pot, that was clear cut. That was a clear cut mistake. This one was 50-50, and I don't know how you. When he went upstairs, I was like, oh, this is such a home call. Because the more time they showed the replay, the more I was like, oh, they're gonna give the penalty. Like, you're gonna give the penalties. Going. I'm like, oh, the drama. Fans are booing. The TV director's giving them incredible angles. Incredible angles. So I'm like, is definitely going to blow this.
So for me, my gut when I saw this was penalty, but I can't justify a penalty with the laws and with what I saw. So I had that feeling. There are a couple of things that I'm going to say. One, don't ever come at me or anyone with the where's he supposed to go rubbish, because I am a firm believer that Morgan was about to lose that battle, and that's why he had to go in and blast it, because it's clear that Tizzano was had the edge over there, but he didn't have hands on the ball. So Morgan had to go and blast it. It was so minuscule whether it was a legal or an illegal blast. You can argue both ways with confidence and with the law book in your hand and be right. And that's probably something that will never be fixed in rugby. But it was so small. And the most important thing, I think, is at that point, Tizzano didn't have hands on, and then he was blasted out. Like, you can sort of lose the battle and still blast someone out legally. But Tizzano didn't have hands on. Morgan was about to lose it. Like, there was nothing in it. And I can totally see how this call was a play on call. We've seen so much of it go the other way. There's a whole bunch of stuff on social media, Brodie Retallick and this, but rugby is not like that. It's not like one is the other and therefore precedence has been set and this is what the ruling needs to be. There are a whole bunch of other errors before that the Wallabies need to be looking at first, and that starts with themselves. But for me, my gut feel was penalty, and that's probably because of what we've seen in the past. And then when I had a look at it, and I can understand why it wasn't given as a penalty, and I'm okay with it. It really could have gone either way. It was like that close. But I mean, you got to slow things down to frame by frame. Maybe he makes contact with the head. Like, does he do that first? I don't know. Are you allowed to make contact with the shoulders and then the head? Does that make it legal or illegal? Like, if it's a clear out, it's a little bit of gray area. But rugby as a professional game with such small margins in it, we are going to get to these photo finishes, and it's going to break our game. Maybe not. I don't believe this is the death of rugby in Australia, but it'll definitely be a setback for them.
I just think Sharky as well. My worry is that, like, for example, like, the laws, I mean, obviously we talk about interpretation and how it is, and like, especially like now a call like that where you're trying to like you're trying to draw the line from where the shoulder blade starts to where the back ends, or when is it the neck, and you're looking there, and you've changed so many angles, and you've zoomed in. It's an ultra slow mo. Then there's this. And it's like if this is the level of going to, you, like, there's no penalty. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like then if this is the level of, if 10 cameras going to pick it up, then we've got to zoom it in and almost frame by frame, frame by frame by frame by frame. That's the way that happens in the game, because because that law, by then again, it's because now obviously where the shoulder's hitting, you don't have the clearest of views to be like, to say it's you may see it as the bottom of the neck. I may see it as a sort of with the shoulder blades in. So like in an angle where it is on. So that's the hard part. My thing is then, like, it becomes one of those things where if, for example, like, you give that Morgan the Morgan clean, half the guys cleans don't wrap. It's like you get the guys who wrap, but if the guy's blasting the guy out, yes, you had Farrell's clean just before that one. He had a good clean as well, where the guys still come in and hit and blast. So it's like, yes, but then, like, see, my thing, the Morgan one is, you give that one in a situation like that, I'm like, then there's basically, if the guy gets the first, then there's no point in competing. You're basically going, you're basically going, like, you've lost the contest. So that's my biggest thing. So at what point do you say to a cleaner, that's where you clean out? Obviously, like, it's especially there, like, if you're searching to see if it was head or back, like, that's my thing. I'm not gonna go in the whole guys are going, oh, but for the greater good of the game, you couldn't. I'm like James Haskell's, like, what do you teach a kid? I'm not, no. I'm not gonna go woke about this. I'm just like, like I hate those guys. Like, when the rule happens, the guys like, but in order for the game to be sustained, I'm like, okay, like, there's no need to be woke about this.
So there's two things. One, if you're looking at things multiple times, like if we had to take this example on what rugby does in the try or no try, no, sorry, whether, like, show me a reason why I cannot award this try situation. You need to show clear evidence. So using that, we go and look at that. Was there clear evidence? Not really. Like, you can argue there was, you can argue there wasn't, but you had to look at it 5 times to see it. So therefore, it's not really clear. The other thing, my question is, Piatti says that they both arrive at the same time, which is clear that is not the case. But how does that impact the clear out? It doesn't. It doesn't. Whether Tizzano arrived first or Morgan arrived after, or it doesn't matter, because Tizzano wasn't hands-on. He was just there. He was therefore legally allowed to be cleared. So that factor, it doesn't come into the argument either. There's nothing I'm missing with the laws on that. Like, that was a legal clear out because his hands weren't on, right?
Yeah. So I think I think this is what we're all discussing now. The problem with the ruck, it's so dynamic, and there's about 43 different things you can do wrong and right at the ruck at the same time. So I think number one, the things that Jack Morgan can't do when he's clearing out a player is contact with the head, contact with the, like, sort of the neck. He has to wrap, and if he does wrap, he can't, or if he's clearing out, he can't target the legs or the limbs, and if he is wrapping, he can't twist over and do a croc roll. And he's pretty much not done anything of that, except for now debatably if he's hit the neck or not. And it seems like to us there's some doubt, but it's not enough, like you said, to overturn what Piatti saw in real time. Then number two, I guess then this is the question, Kooks, you're saying it now. Look, I'm not how can I, what will happen? How will people clean in the future person? Like, the rule is the rule. We have to adapt to it. But there's definitely an aspect of, like, and maybe this is a wider conversation about the jackal and what can, is the jackal even safe anymore? Because obviously seems like that's not the main place where people get injured these days, because it's limb injuries, it's ACLs, it's neck and shoulder possibilities as well. So Morgan did pretty much as close to what you can do in the rules in terms of getting there and clearing someone out. And, people can say that, you're not supposed to dive down, but both people's body positions were down. Tizzano is also not supposed to sort of bridge like this when he is going for the ball. If
he's on his feet, he can, though. If he's supporting his own body weight, he can be there. So
what I was going to say about that, Shaun, is that he's about to grab to the ball, but I think it's almost, he'd have to be like the strongest core in the world in order for him to grab the ball without now supporting his body weight with his arms. So he's also in, when, like, I think more if you're a kid, but like when your upper body goes so low below your lower body, it's very difficult for you to have much control over what you're doing. I think his body is low. It's very cynical, I think, from Tizzano as well. It kind of feels like he maybe didn't have the time, but it kind of feels like he wasn't necessarily going for the ball. He was kind of hoping for this, in a way, for that someone clears him out in a bad way. And for Morgan, like, he wraps, he hits him on the shoulder. Like, I'm struggling to see the argument for, the Australian side. And look, I know now the Australians a lot. I've seen a few articles now about how hypocritical World Rugby is and all that sort of stuff. And, Northern Hemisphere talks about player safety and all that sort of stuff. Should we even go down that conversation? We know who are the people that have gotten the golden rule that they want about 20-minute red cards, and who's the chair of World Rugby right now. So they're not going to get much sort of sympathy from me about that. But this is where, like, if we're going to do this, I think the one thing I hate arguments like this, but it's genuinely, if we're going to do this for each and every ruck, where it's not sort of clear and obvious, we're going to be sort of doing CSI sort of detective work on each and every ruck.
And every ruck before this, like, let's be honest, when Tizzano and Gleeson came on, that was their role, was to be competitive at the ruck, slow the ball down. Everyone before that, no one really said a word. And there's no ways that that sort of stuff didn't happen. So they were going in, perhaps they felt that they were beating them to it and then nearly got cleaned out a couple times and they're like, here's our opportunity. I have no problem with that. I don't think he goes in to milk it. I think he goes in to steal the ball but gets blasted and is like, well, that felt harder than the rest of it. Because, again, I'm going to repeat myself, but I do think Morgan is behind the 8 ball there and he is going to lose that.
Yeah.
But he has a small window to still win it. And he literally hits that target. So it was really close and therefore illegal. But legal, should I say. But it's so much like, it's really like 5 replays and then you're like, can you see that? Can you just over there? Just see that? Okay, there we go. There's illegal. And then that's when you're like, oh, we're in shit, man.
So I'm not even sure. I mean, look, when Will Skelton was playing in the first half, that was what he was doing in every ruck. He never kept his feet. He was diving down. He was holding people over. He rucked beyond the ruck as well. So
he did
even in terms of consistency, I think Parody call is quite consistent.
Yes.
It's that, hey man, as long as you are trying to ruck in some way, like we'll sort of give you the benefit of the doubt. You're not going to be too technical about it. And it was a game where I mean, Jackers didn't really have much of a chance in this game. Like there was so fewer turnovers than there were in the previous week. So yeah, there's many, I don't know. So now Phil Wall is calling for a clarification from World Rugby. Joe Schmidt isn't happy about it. Obviously, Harry Wilson was absolutely spitting mad about it. Tizzano needs, we need to get some treatment about like the belated dive that he took as well. Like I think that was a bit theatric as well.
That was a proper the arms up in the air. You don't see the arms out in the air for after a clean up. But I mean, like, it's one of those things. Like, guys, like you look at the thing. Like I feel like it's a 50-50 call that goes either way. So like, there's a need to. Like, what does World Rugby do? Like, must there a seminar be have for every 50-50 call, 50-50 call? I guess again, I get frustrated. Like Shoki mentioned, like, you get the ones, where I don't mind the refs looking when it is a penalty, but you're trying to determine if there's foul play. Where is if it's like, for example, like a proper head-eye shot where you're like, whoever knows that he's hit him in the head. Or his shoulders are a bit above hitting her. So let's look at, is there a knee going to drop down? But we all know that the penalty is happening. But at this stage, they still look for foul play. But you look at they're going, there's no foul play. Like, we don't know if it's even a penalty. Like, if it's a 50-50, it wouldn't be a penalty. Or these guys are going on as if, like, I'm like, if you're going to go for every 50-50 call at ruck time, then World Rugby would not do anything else except explain ruck laws. Unfortunately, that's what they'll be doing if they wanted clarification from World Rugby, who I don't even think know what ruck laws they do, because they change every week. So like, what's for World Rugby is like, because they're gonna go, they're like, well, how we see it is this is here, boom. They're gonna go, but the law says this, but then it goes back into a different, because how some people see ruck laws, interpret the law it's different. So the laws, they go down interpretation. It's always giving frustration. And obviously, it's the last minute of the game, so it does get blown up. So I mean, you can ask World Rugby to go. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, they're off. Got nothing else to do this weekend. I mean, it's a dead rubber. So
yeah, and I mean, look, you were saying like Parody could have done the easy option of just call it a penalty for the Wallabies. He's also there this weekend as an assistant ref, because obviously they're rotating between the three of them for the 3 tests. So that's obviously, even for his benefit, that would be the easier option, because obviously he might get a bit of abuse now in the game this weekend. And it will be easier for him because he doesn't have to run away from this, like unfortunately Craig Joubert did in 2015. And obviously Some Scots were very happy that they could pull one over the Australians about this now. So yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, Kooks, maybe at best there's a 50-50. But yeah, once we get into fourth, fifth replay, I kind of like that Pirardi sort of saw it, I guess, twice maybe, and he was like, look, this is not abundantly clear. Like I think you were saying, Shaun, like there isn't necessarily a benefit of the doubt that I can give to this. Like it's it's too sort of it's too forensic for us to look at. But yeah, I mean, Australian fans are unhappy. But let's talk about how the Lions came back, and then at the end we can maybe be more positive about the Wallabies. Shaun, I guess for the Lions, the main thing was, like you said, they scored at the end of the first half, those two tries. The second half was a lot tighter and they had opportunities. But look, their 22 conversion rate was fantastic in the game. Like they were able to get points every time they got down to the 22. And even in the last try, they were just trusting that multi-phase approach. Like it's obviously we're saying like the Lions are playing a lot like Ireland. It was sort of that Ireland thing of we'll play the phases, we'll keep the ball, and basically the longer we keep the ball, the more likely we almost are to score a try. Like other teams in world rugby right now, I don't think you can say that about most of the other teams. Other teams almost struggle the more they have the ball, but the Lions now have got themselves to a point, or I guess through the island model, that when they keep the ball, when they keep it through multiple phases, an opportunity will come. Gibson Park will see something, or one of their runners will create an opportunity, and that's what they did ultimately.
They were excellent. Like the I would really have liked to see how they would have approached the second half had they not scored those two tries at the end of the first half, because what it did was it allowed them not to panic. And my big thing is you want to put people under pressure, make them uncomfortable, make them doubt their game plan, or make them doubt stuff about themselves and how they're approaching the game. That's really what you want to do with an Ireland, with the All Blacks of old, with the current Springbok side. Like if you take them out their comfort zone of just going through the motions the whole time, then you get to see what they're made of. And when they never got to do that, the Lions were never really under that much pressure because of those two tries. The one thing is very evident, the Lions have stars, but I think as a whole, they are definitely beatable. There are cracks. Even in that first test, you could see that there was opportunity to capitalize on stuff that they weren't doing well or that they weren't ready for. And it was quite evident that came through in the second test. But because of the class they've got, in particular, their loose trio, or even from 4 until 8, and then their 9 and 10. In particular, those guys are just dominating everywhere. Like they are executing to their best ability and allowing the other people to really go on and do well. So that's where all the stars have helped them. But the Lions are weak, and I don't want to hear people turn around and say this is the best Lions side ever. Like, I don't even want to hear that. I haven't, but I don't want to hear that. Like, I don't even care if they're going and win this weekend, like, because I really do think that they are beatable. This could be the best group of individuals they've got together, but there are some places that they need a couple more games to clean up. But yeah, Finn Russell has reinforced what so many Scottish and Bath fans know. Like Finn Russell and Kooks, don't forget Kooks. Kooks was first. He's incredible. Jamison Gibson Park, like the two of them dovetail together so well. The thing about Finn Russell is he's shown so much more to his game, which he's had. To be fair, I've seen so much of it for Bath, but you only ever see highlights of him doing absolutely wild shit. But he's got a great defensive game. He's got a great out-of-hand kicking game, whether it's long or short, whether it's an attacking or defensive kick. He's excellent. I'm really bummed we didn't get to see the Irish or the Scottish midfield in a test match that mattered, because I'd really like to see how that worked. But yeah, the forward pack is the reason why the Lions did anything really well. Like their loose trio was cooking the whole way.
Yeah, I would say like the main reasons, if you can almost list them, is the Lions got an in with their scrum in the second half, especially like they were winning scrum penalties. That was their way of getting into the Australian half. And in the first half, though, as the opposite, they were conceding penalties. So they conceded 7 penalties in the first half, and Australia used that as the way to get into their half. And in the second half, they only conceded 2. And I think Australia then conceded 6. So that scrum was a way for them, like, and we know this from the box. You need something that you can ride as the way to get into the other team's half, and then you can execute from there. I think their bench was fantastic. Gaines was carrying well. I thought, I mean, look, James Ryan has his detractors, but he was fantastic at, I see a man, I will destroy the man in front of you.
I would like to apologize to James Ryan. I was shocked. Like, not that I don't think he's a good rugby player. I thought what the Lions needed from their lock at that particular time, I didn't think was in his wheelhouse. My word, he was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, even Stewart, I mean, he did concede that penalty, but for rolling, but he had a nice break in the middle there. Morgan, obviously, with the clean out that, that divided the world. I think Farrell helped with getting some width into the attack in those key moments. Kinghorn obviously was just, yeah, great in terms of just running those outside lines. So, the impact came from the bench, but I think even just the players that played 80, like the last 20 minutes were just moments from the likes of Byrne and Itoje and Gibson Park and those sort of, and Aki with his breakout, those players that really just stood up and really just took the test. Whereas obviously with the Wallabies, they don't have the depth that the Lions do. And that's, I guess, the big thing with the Lions is when maybe Ireland doesn't have 23 players that can continue sort of the intensity like maybe the Boks do. But when there's 4 countries together, there's obviously a bigger chance of that. And yeah, I think they did mess up a few opportunities in the last 20 minutes. I think there was the penalty that ironically Tizzano won. There was, I think, the penalty that Stewart conceded. But in that last attack, there was so many really good little moments from Finn Russell, with, getting the ball sort of going, from Kinghorn, from Byrne, and then ultimately Keenan. Kooks, I think Ikitau, I mean, you even said on the group, Ikitau had a great game, but obviously, like the 2 one-on-ones, he lost. But I think it was also because the Wallaby defense just couldn't find a way to stop the impact. So, it wasn't a game for McWright or Tizzano to get a lot of turnovers. That's obviously the first way they want to get impact. The second way is, I guess, the likes of Bell or Gleeson, they're not able to get that big dominant tackle in order for them to change momentum. So every time the Lions are making meters and getting over the advantage line, and then you're sort of on your heels, and then once now a player like Hugo Keenan sees you one-on-one like that, he can skin you. So that's where I think the Wallabies need to make a big improvement is the attack, when they want to cook, it can cook. The defense, though, throughout the last 2 games, that's where they just aren't able to do anything to the Lions to stop them from, getting points once they get into the red zone.
Yeah, I thought defensively, I thought the Wallabies were poor, especially in that first half period where, I just thought some other also just really, really, really poor tackling. You look at Burns' try, and you're like, guys, like, we could tell obviously get stood up by James Lowe. The frustrating thing for me is also like, I just found, yes, the Lions were able to get momentum when they carried, but I also found the Wallabies to be very passive on defense as well, almost like, I don't know, like maybe
it's weird, eh?
Or maybe they think the Ratchet Face doesn't work, but it's just the times again when the guys are getting stood up. For example, Thala, you mentioning like the quality when it happened with Ikitau, and in that situation, it's 2v2. So it's just like it's not like Ikitau was fantastic going forward. Well, I mean, on attack, but I think defensively struggled. I think also one thing that hurt Ikitau as well, I think with the Wallabies, I think it's when you've got McDermott who's on a wing playing wing with scrum, and then you've got Swahili who I thought defensively wasn't great as well. I mean, at 13, sort of, I mean, he's like it's so weird with the Wallabies. I was sitting there, I'm like, look at Swahili, I mean, incredible athlete, but I mean, he's just come back to rugby union. He's played He played 13 last year, then he's played basically the entire season at fullback for the Waratahs. And then he goes back to playing 13 again.
Yeah. This is, I think, his 12th game in rugby union or 13th
Yeah.
game in rugby union.
And Thala, what do you always say about an Andy Farrell coach side? If you can't play 13, you can't defend at 13. They'll find a way to exploit. And I thought for Ikitau sort of he just find himself in that trap where it feels like he's actually covering for two guys on his outside and I mean like the last one. I mean I think for him it will be frustrating. But again, it comes from before Ikitau gets stuck in the 2v2. There's a Will Stewart carry. Then they get momentum again. Happens often. Blair Kinghorn. Like, the Wallabies did everything right at a stage where top lineup, they get a turnover, boots it down to just outside the 22, and the Lions end up back in the 122 in about 4 or 5 phases. And you're going, oh, they just couldn't not stop the Lions from. There's always seemed to be either a line break or some sort of mini break where the Lions get momentum. And Thala, you mentioned it. Once they go on the 22, they live with points. The Wallabies, it was so fun in that first half because the momentum switch you probably say was when after that Tom Curry tackle. Because when Swahili they did, I mean, like I know some guys saying maybe Swahili could have tucked in, that was just more for me incredible defense more than anything else because Swahili doesn't know that Curry is right behind him. And
he hits him like a truck as well.
100%. And I saw like guys that maybe holds onto the ball. I'm like, guys, the space is out wide. Swahili makes that pass, it's another try, and then now you're staring at 29-3. Now you're going, oh geez, the Lions like yes, they were 18 points. They don't look behind. Now you go to 25 points behind. And you're thinking, oh geez, and then from there, the Lions find a way to get back in the game. You find a try. So that's the thing that'll probably frustrate for me as a Wallaby fan is that just the softness of how each try was conceded. Like they could have been stopped. They just could not stop the Lions from getting momentum because you look at the Wallabies, that possession, territory, like they were playing, they did everything that they didn't do in the first test. I mean, shocking that you mentioned, like, well, they were fantastic. Yes, and yes, obviously they don't have the depth. They don't have the depth as well. But in their mind, like I don't know why Ben Johnson didn't go on. That shocked me.
Very interesting.
Because because one thing is like I understand. Like I don't think Tom Lana I don't think he had a bad game, but it was like he did make a few costly errors, a few errors down the stretch as well. And for the Lions, you're like, oh, it's the big experienced players who are making big experienced plays down the stretch. So I'm like in my mind.
And Donaldson is a very defensive-minded player, more so than attacking, which is almost the perfect game for him to be on in the last 5-10.
I thought we'll definitely go the Donaldson route. Listen, I mean, I must say the Wallabies don't put together a better. Probably like I mean, they played so nicely, but they played nicely. And obviously, the game got tighter in the second half. It was funny how I was watching it with mates at a bar and they're like, oh, second half was a bit quiet. I'm like, no, that's like it's funny how in a test match like that, it happens to most sides where it just when squeaky bum time, like the margins get fine. And you can see the Wallabies, like you say, they don't make mistakes. And that was the biggest thing for me with the Wallabies. They were trying to almost park the bus, not make too many errors, not playing as much. This is what they did. I mean, obviously they lost their big carriers in Skelton and Valetini. I'm very interested to see. I mean, other Gleason carried nice. I'm just very interested to see if the plan was for always Valetini to play 40 or Skelton play 40. I just felt like if there's ever a time to even if you move Valetini to 8 and get Gleason on and you're going, guys, like I'd rather have Valetini not available next week than put him out in 40 minutes, if that makes sense. Like you going like I need to ride this thing because there is no tomorrow. I mean, we need to find a way to get this 1-1. We'll deal with the rest on. If the guys mustn't train the week, he's not going to train the week. So it is interesting for the Wallabies. But all I'm saying for the Wallabies, your fans, don't come to here defending like that. You'll catch 40. Because we aren't. This is not like as good as burning them guys. Our guys are coming around the corner and they're coming for 80 minutes, and it's going to be relentless. And Wallabies better not come here defending like this. They better not come here going to be passive against Springboks because yes, maybe James, maybe like I mean, what James Lowe can do on to beat Iketa 1-2 on a 1v1. You got Carlo to deal with in a situation like that. So Wallabies, you're not going to come to Africa and be passive here because we're going to hurt you.
Yeah. I think the big thing for the Wallabies is what is our thing that stops an attack? The Boks have dominant tackles. The French also have dominant tackles, and like obviously the Boks do have people that fetch, but the dominant tackles, I think for the Boks and French is the big thing. I think the Irish and New Zealand are more on the turnover side, the Burns, the Seviers that are able to get their hands into the ball. And I guess that's where for McWright and for Tizzano and those sort of players, you're like, okay, that's probably what we want you guys to do. And it's not like, I mean, I'm looking at their tackle stats, like McWright made 7 tackles and Tizzano made 4. So it's not like they were busy being made to tackle a lot. It's just that, maybe, you can say it's Pirati's interpretation wasn't as sympathetic as O'Keefe was last week to Jacklers. But yeah, they just weren't able to do anything that stops the Lions from getting, from building ahead of steam. In the 22-meter entries, the Wallabies had 5 entries and they scored 4 points per entry, which is horrible. I mean, Simon Easterby probably had a bit of a heart attack about that. But for the Lions, they had 7 entries and they scored 4.1 points per entry. That's the game there. Like that's literally the game for the Wallabies, because out of those 7 entries, the Lions scored 5 tries because all of their points were scored essentially from, well, they were scored as tries. So you can't, you need to, that needs to be at below half. Like if a team's going to get 7 entries, they need to only score from 3. So that's, I think, where the Wallabies, that's the main thing that they need to sort out for the next few weeks. And that's where they need to go. And I was just going to say on Liner and maybe replacing him. I mean, look, I thought number one, Liner and Gordon had a fantastic game. I think up until like the 50th, 60th minute, in terms of their kicking was great. They forced the Lions into mistakes. The Lions back 3 was looking quite, I mean, if there's one area of the game that they looked really substandard, it was the back 3, like Lowe, Freeman, and I mean, I don't think Keenan was as bad. It feels like Keenan is almost covering for Lowe and Freeman, but it's just not working for those 3. And it was good contestable kicks. It was good long kicks. It was good territorial kicks. And they were able to, dictate the territory game. And then obviously through the penalties were able to keep possession. In the second half, though, I think that's when they maybe fell into the trap of maybe trying to play a bit too much because they just didn't really see the ball, especially in the last 30 minutes. And then they maybe played a little bit too much in between the 22s and sort of got, turned over. I mean, there was an Itoje turnover, for example, that I'm thinking about. There's a few turnovers like with the ball and all that sort of stuff late in the game. I guess Donaldson could have played, like you could have, if you wanted Liner for his kicking, you could have maybe put Donaldson at fullback and then moved right to the wing and then either take out McDermott, because obviously he's not a wing, or maybe take out Swali if you're not so confident in his defensibility. And then I guess the last thing is there needs to be, I guess, a decision made, or Hugh Griffin pointed this out, for all of I think 4 of the 5 Lions tries, the problem was the defender going up high and them getting pushed off or handed off. So I don't know if that's a mandate from the defensive coach, or they're trying to like sort of go ball and all, or whatever the case is. But yeah, that's obviously sort of rookie error number 1, but I think that is a problem, but I think it just comes from they're not able to stop momentum. And if a team is able to get over the advantage line every phase, you don't have the opportunity to sort of shoot out and to hit someone. So now you have to sort of be on your heels. Like Kooks said, it's not like they're doing a rush defense or anything like that. So now this is when they get into trouble. And yeah, unfortunately for the Wallabies, last week their bench was great. This week, I guess because it was more of a defensive game, their bench wasn't really anywhere except for Gleeson. He was carrying well. I didn't see enough of Bell, unfortunately. It didn't seem like he got himself into the game.
One carry early and then just sort of never got into the game.
Yeah, it just, and I mean, Bell's a good defender, so I would expect some dominant hits from him. But I think there's only three dominant hits from the Wallabies the whole game, so you- no one really was able to really take to rest the game back from the Lions, and that's just unfortunate. Like that's, I think they maybe should have chosen Tom Hoop instead of Williams, but I don't know if that makes a huge difference. But they just need to be able to, keep that momentum because look, Valetini will get better and fitter and he'll be able to play 80 minutes. Although Joe Schmidt does love replacing him instead of Wilson. Let me not start on Harry Wilson. I feel like I'm the only person sort of I'm taking crazy pills because I'm just not seeing the impact from Wilson that justifies him playing 80 minutes or being the captain, whatever the case is. Where Rob Valetini is literally almost the team himself. But we know Skelton doesn't play 80 minutes. Like that just isn't a thing for him. So Gleeson helps with keeping up the impact. I think Hooper can help with keeping the impact from Lock because he's at least a lot more mobile. He hits rucks, he hits people. Like he's the sort of player that you need to keep. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a few questions for the Wallabies, I think, going forward. And now that the series is lost, I'd also put Swali at wing. I think I'd just be like, look, Swali, you're Israel Folau now. Watch all of these tapes. Maybe don't look at his Twitter account. Just watch what he does on the wing. This is the player that you need to be.
I don't know. I mean, I think sorry, Sharky. I think the Swahili is interesting. I think obviously if he's going to play 13, he needs time and reps at 13, like even domestically. Like, when like I know Falau started his international career on the wing and then he ends up going to fullback full time. Like, and then he goes, because like, I mean, like, I think even the Wallabies, like, I know Falau would probably, his kicking game like, this kicking game, like, got a little bit better because, I mean, like, there's a stage Falau, I mean, couldn't kick anything. And, for example, but I mean, what he brought you in attack and the athlete is, I think that's what Swahili is. I mean, that break of his was, I mean, when you do Bundy Aki, I mean, that's probably Bundy got him back later in the game, but man, is an athlete. But I just think they need to find ways. Like there's anything in the Wallabies, especially in the second half. Like I was like, you've got the likes of Tom Wright, who I thought was very good. Tom Wright is getting better and better. And tell the funniest thing with Tom Wright this weekend was he was less kamikaze as normal. The kamikaze part of him is like I need him to actually leave the Brumbies. I need him to go to like I need to go to a kamikaze team because the Brumbies now there's some structure. Joe Schmidt's giving a little bit of structure. I thought Tom Wright was very good, but it's just so funny for me the Wallabies in the second half. I'm like you probably got the better athletes, especially in the back line, the Iketels and guys like that, guys, but you're just not finding ways for them to get to the ball. I'm like, I understand, yes, you're trying to play territory, play regular, but you're also like, but you don't have the bodies to do what you don't have the bodies to play this attritional game to like win in the game. I'm like, Yorks, you might have to win the game 35, but you might need to score 35 points. The same when when they beat England. It's like they played rugby. I mean, there's all these little fancy players like that one of like with Swahili, that the little chip over, he does that fantastic play. I'm like, for me, there's not enough of that innovation in the second half from the Wallabies. I'm like, because now you're trying to do this attritional game, but you've got two of your best ball carriers out, and you're not getting anything from Bell. Gleeson's came around the corner. Harry Wilson we watched him carry the ball 3 straight times. It went backwards 3 straight times. So you're like, where's so like you mentioned like Harry Wilson, I think he's a good player. I just don't think I'm like, I just don't. He's good, but I'm like, he's not that guy. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't see that guy. I'm like, I just think he's a guy. He's gonna get. He reminds me of Ben Marwin. Like good captain, but you're just like, that's it. Like you get to 50 caps, but like yeah, but like he's not gonna get into any other side or like this. Like you look at like Valentino, like Skelton, guys like that. I mean, would potentially be world class. And Thala, we mentioned. I mean, I think we've been calling Skelton a fraud for a while in Test match rugby, and I thought it was fantastic. You could see from as he started, he was up for that game. He was getting people's faces, and the funniest thing with him getting people's faces, I'm like, now he's angry. So you want to fight Skelton, but you still got to deal with 140 kg oak running at you. So it's like it's not a fun place to be. So. I think there's a big recipe for the Wallabies there, and like there is a positives, but man, I still think that like today doing the video review, they're like, that's the one that got away for them because that's the biggest thing. And the Lions took their chances, but for the Wallabies, I'm like, even if they got a 1-1, you're probably thinking like, oh Jesus, I'm still the ball, still the Lions cook in the Lions. The Lions side because you like the all will improve. Like I know this weekend, like people thinking the Lions. I can't see Andy Farrell going big rotation. I think he wants the 3-0. I can't remember lots of Lions have won a series 3-0. So that's for me. That's the frustrating thing with the Wallabies for me is that it's like as much as they'll say the Lions won, they snap like the Lions won at the end. I feel like the Lions snatched it like the Wallabies threw it away. Like that's the thing. They just threw it away and it will hurt for a long term. And then now they made the Lions relevant again because that's the only place that seem to win in the last few years. They're just like now must wait till next 12 years time. Then like they're gonna go to New Zealand with hope again in a few years later, and they're like, oh, coming off a series win. Oh, you see now Wallabies.
I thought tactically the Wallabies, I think they got it spot on. I don't think you could expect to take 18 points, take an 18-point lead. But what they did force the Lions to do was commit 2 forwards to every Skelton and Valetini carry. They doubled up really well. I thought they defended it really well, but they ended up conceding so many tries. So the bigger picture, they clearly lost. But yeah, it's so interesting. Like tactically, it makes sense with what they did with their changes. I do feel that the Skelton and the Valetini subs were made off the back of go out and just obliterate yourself, and then the harder you play, the sooner you rest, the more you can come back next week and we fight the series out. That was kind of the thought process for me. And then yeah, it was just it's just those tries at halftime killed me, man. Interesting that that Suali'i thing. I know everyone's focusing on Bundy Aki when he cut him on the inside. I think Bundy definitely kind of overtracks so he doesn't get burnt on the outside. I think that is one thing he's worried about. But he's offered enough on the inside, and Tom Curry shot up, and then there was a vacuum there, and no one's filled that gap, and that's when he's got eaten. Because we all know as defenders, you just don't get taken on the outside. Your inside is covered. Your inside is someone else's job. So that was quite interesting. But with Suali'i, he runs like a 15, but I don't know the rest of his 15 game is going to be good enough positionally or with the boots for Test rugby. 13 is interesting.
Right as well. That's the thing as well. Like you've got. And Tom Wright is playing, he's getting himself, he's playing very well. So it's like, what do you do?
Yeah, you don't want to move your best 15 to the wing because you want to try out a really good player that might do well here, you know? So there's that. I don't know. I don't even know if 13 is his best position as a permanent space. If he's playing at 15, he gets to fill in at 13. You know, they can rotate it like on second phase, third phase, or whatever. That's like that can happen. But defensively, he got eaten. The thing is on attack, he's shown why he's a great 13. But you know me, 13s are not about attacking it. 13s is so much more, and it was highlighted big time. So yeah, Tom Wright has to stay there at 15. So I don't know what they're going to do with Suali'i. I think they're going to probably keep him there, and they're just going to have to work on his D. But the thing is with Tom Wright and Suali'i, if you are giving them positive touches with the ball, they are going to create something.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I think is guaranteed. Like if you can manufacture a good space for them to run into or do something, they will see it and they will execute. And the other thing I was super interested and really bummed about was Potter. I know you don't want to go off after 20 minutes against the Lions, but Potter looked to me like there was a plan there. And that whole backline changed a little bit, like not a plan for him to go off, like a plan for him in the game to go, and like there was something brewing for him and they couldn't get it done. And then my final shout out on this long monologue, I apologize, but Jake Gordon was incredible. He showed everyone up. He showed that he's got a sniping game. He showed the game that we know he's got, but he executed it really well, and then he showed so much more. And he went the 80. He was doing different stuff. He was good on defense. it was brilliant. And I think that performance there has really cemented him as their first, like their primary nine, and they will move him according to that. So if they need him to be there at the end, they will bench him. I think that's what this performance has done for him.
Yeah. Look, I mean, you can't ask for anything more in terms of attacking stats for the Wallabies. Like they did beat more defenders than the Lions. They made more clean breaks than the Lions. They got the most meters and post-contact meters. I mean, the main thing that was a problem is 22-meter entries. The Lions had 7 and the Wallabies had 5. And I am assuming the last one is pretty much that Swali'i one where Curry just comes in and just absolutely smacks him. So I think the attacking aspects of the Wallabies, it's a shame it took until game 2, but the attack, I think, is the thing that's closest to improving. I mean, it was closest to being good. And Kooks mentioned the England game, and that's probably the template that the Wallabies have to follow for the next year or so. You're going to have to win these 40-39 games for the next few weeks, like I guess in the Rugby Championship. It has to be a high-scoring game. You're going to still have to work out how you're going to sort out your defense, but you have to now score as much points as possible. And you have in Ikitau and Swali'i, in Wright, I mean, even in McDermott and Gordon, just some of the best attackers in rugby. Jorgensen, I think, was really good in attack. And then the basis of it is Valetini carrying and attracting defenders, Skelton carrying and attracting defenders. I guess the question is, who else can do that for the Wallabies? Because it's just, they need that balance so that if Valetini and Skelton are off, someone carries that on. And I guess, like we said, it should have been Bell. Maybe someone like, Salakai Lotto or Uru comes back into the reckoning because of that. So
they would add either one of those would add massive value.
Huge.
Yeah. I assume Schmidt doesn't pick them because of the other aspects of the game. So I don't know if, I was listening to...
It doesn't matter. Half his team can't defend. So he's picking the team on one aspect as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to go full attack, maybe those are the things that you need to do. Maybe, yeah, you need to sort of go classic Pooper and go like Tizzano and McWright. The names don't even work for a sort of a combination name. But, I think those things will help. Even look, with Wilson, I think Kooks, you're right. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I just think he's not in the right role. He's not the 80-minute player. I think he's more of you put him in the last 30 minutes, he can cause a lot of havoc. He's almost like Warren Whiteley, just really good when the game gets open. He has the skill, he has the engine, he can really cause some havoc there in the last 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the first half, those tries that the Wallabies scored, especially the Tom Wright score, was just fantastic. Just Ikitau being able to pass to Swali'i just showing his ability and just why he's such a dangerous player, and then putting through Wright. The second try was fantastic as well, with just was it 18 phases that they got, and then Jake Gordon sniping and seeing Porter and Furlong sort of around that they can snipe around. And good defensive block there from Paradi as well. So it's there is stuff there. They can do multi-phase. That's the Wallaby way. We've known that since the 2000s. The Wallabies are usually the best country for multi-phase attack. So they can keep the ball, they can attack, they can sort of create those chances. They took them this weekend. Now, I think with Liner, they have the right fly half. I think for the future, Liner can get them to the right places. He's able to attack. It's just now figuring out the balance between, okay, we have an attack that can potentially be very good or great. How do we get our defense and our scrum and our set piece at least to decent to average sort of level? Because, those are the parts of the game that they weren't able to really exploit. Just talking about the Lions, I want to ask you, I'll start with you, Kooks. Which is the Lions player? You can maybe say he's the player of the series so far, but I want to ask a slightly different question. Who's the Lions player that you think his reputation has been enhanced the most by this tour?
I mean, not to sound biased, but I thought Fernandez had a great tour. I think he's. I mean, I think what's been great for me, it's not just been his he's obviously the flash, the passes, and things. I thought his kick in bar and Saturday for Paul, so he kicked very well, goal kicking was until Saturday, and then but his kicks out of hand. Some of his line kicking on the weekend was incredible. Some of the two penalty kicks he put out of the five were incredible. His kicking has come a long way, and I mean, for me, one of the highlights of the tour has been his interviews with Dan Bigg and Rowan O'Gara. I mean, they've been fantastic, and and O'Gara speaks about like in Scotland and obviously in Bath, they see him every day, and often they know like how much his tactical game has sort of gone in the maturity in which he plays in now. And I thought on Saturday, I thought he was fantastic, and I thought he had a fantastic tour as well. I think from the Test match side, you probably say Tyburn and Tom Curry. I think Tyburn, we mentioned going to the first test, he wasn't playing well. I mean, like we're like, oh, he's gonna be a shoe, and then you're like, oh no, is Chisholm gonna come in at 6? Is Tyburn gonna play? He was fantastic in both test matches, and Curry as well. I mean, I know we know all the talk was about obviously no Van der Fleer. Like we all thought Van der Fleer would walk into the side, and then maybe Curry potentially could play at 6, but I thought Curry has been fantastic again. So probably those three, but for the pick one, I'll probably go Tom Curry as probably the Lions player of the tour, just ahead of Finn Russell.
I agree with you there. I think the whole of Ireland and Wales need to handwrite an apology letter to Tom Curry, because it was quite something. But it's only been in the tests. Like that's the one thing he has really been cooking in the tests as a whole. The one standout player for me, and I think it was clear in his absence of the first test, or I can't remember. Yeah, he played 40 minutes the first test. It's Joe McCarthy. McCarthy his reputation has gone up big time because everyone was like, oh, how are we going to replace him? What are we going to do? Who are we going to move? Why are we going to, how are we going to juggle that whole thing? That's one for me, him and Tom Curry for sure. And other than that, I think, that's it. I think Maro's been really good doing a lot of stuff that the inexperienced rugby fans won't see. Like he's getting a lot of hate, but my word, his numbers on all the nitty-gritty stuff are massive. Like he's been doing so much, like it's crazy. So it's been good. But McCarthy and then Curry for test matches, without a shadow of a doubt, Tom Curry has gone on and absolutely dominated 2 test matches.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Curry, the big thing has been just, I mean, it's we say this about some other players, like he's just really rose to the occasion. And even I think the first half of the Lions, it was just so flat from them. Like they were just not able to get any sort of foot in the game. It felt like they looked the slower team. They looked the less athletic team. They looked like the team that's been playing now for 10 months. And Curry in those last 10 minutes, like him and a few other players just were able to rise themselves. And then, he gets the try. Like he's able to sort of get himself into the game. Then he makes that big defensive impact in the second half against Swalihi. Like he's just able to just see the moment and to grasp it. And I guess, like we say, that's probably the big differences between the Lions and the Wallabies in this test was their big test players were able to do those things in the moments that counted. I think with Itoje, I don't know if it's a hot take, but I think Maro Itoje, like now, he was man of the match this week. Obviously, he was player of the series for the Lions in the 2021 tour. And I don't know if he was man of the match in the 2017 or one of the games 2017, but he was like clearly one of the best players. I think he's not I think there's a good argument that Itoje might be the best Lion in the professional era, or he's at least now in the conversation. Like with Martin
Definitely.
Johnson, with Paul O'Connell, with Alan Wynne-Jones, I guess with Brian O'Driscoll or Jonathan Davies, depending on your preference, if you're Warren Gatlin. He's in that conversation. Like he's been fantastic. Like he, like you said, Sean, he's doing sort of the dirty work. And I mean, Itoje, like we said with Curry, he is like he's not as visible when the Lions are dominating a game like they did last week, because his best attributes are when your team is
Yeah.
sort of on the line, they need like a big defensive play or they need something to change it. Then that's when Itoje shines. And that's, I think, what he was doing. Like he was the one pretty much tackling Skelton for a lot of that first half. And obviously he's losing a lot of weight to Skelton, but because the Irish players are probably have a bit of like PTSD about Skelton, like he's the one that's able to stand up to him. So it's those things. And obviously now he's a test winning captain and all that sort of stuff. Like, I mean, I know Squidge, Robbie and Will Owen were doing the Lions Mount Rushmore. Yeah, I think Itoje needs to be included there as like a modern Lion. Like, I mean, he has the 2 series wins. He's only lost 1 series out of his 3. Because, I mean, this is one thing that the Boks can say now. They're the only team to beat the Lions in a test series up until the 2005 tour. So they won 2009, they won 2021. And every other thing has either been a loss or a draw. So in that sort of, and that's a pretty successful time for the Lions because they don't always win test series, as we know. Itoje has been a key cog in them drawing against the All Blacks, coming 5 minutes away from winning in South Africa, and now winning this test series in Australia. So yeah, I'm I don't know if I can win Itoje as the best lock in his generation, obviously with Eben Etzebeth there, but he's definitely, in terms of the Lions locks, I think he might be, obviously, I think he's now sort of in that O'Connell, Allen Jones conversation, and then as a consequence, probably one of the best players in the professional era.
And he's 30 years old, eh? He's got another tour in him.
Another one.
And he'll very likely captain as well. Again, like I don't see him not. But I agree with you. The thing is it's so interesting. Like, Owen Farrell's got to be in that conversation too. Like he comes on. What Owen Farrell did when he came on was actually massive. He was literally, the reason why he was brought on tour was for his experience, and he was filling in spaces that needed to be filled, not because it's his job, but because he knew that a body needed to be there. Brilliant. Maro Itoje, without a shadow of a doubt, probably if he goes on tour next tour, and if the Lions get a result, will be without a shadow of a doubt the best Lion out there. He would have had a ridiculous results. And I know the conversation is always around him and Eben Etzebeth. And if you do head-to-head battles, Eben's got the edge. But I firmly believe Maro Itoje will make every single test squad, whether, like, he'll be in every single test squad in the world. There's nowhere that they've got 2 4s that could beat him. Like South Africa, Eben starts at 4. Maro could be on the bench because he covers blindside flank as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's quite something.
No, he's fantastic. I was looking at his stats now. I mean, he's obviously played his hand in the test match, and you look at him like, and he's only 31. I mean, it's the era I think we've been waiting for him now. This captaincy era, and I think obviously, I think you look at the way he leads, and you hear the stories of Saracens. I mean, he's won pretty much everywhere as a leader. I mean, he won on Junior World Cups, and I mean, now he does it for the Lions as well. So, and you see the way, like Thala, you mentioned, like with him, he's such a big game player. He's in that era, like, you look at like the Ebens and like guys like that, where it doesn't seem like he's having. Being like, oh, it's a quiet game. Oh, God, he's going to roll. He's going to put out a man of the match performance. And it was so funny because as good as he was last week, you're like, oh, there's Maro, man of the match. Doesn't surprise me again. And you go like, he has obviously the vintage Maro games, and he seems to play his best when he puts on the red shirt. Yeah, Thala, I agree with you. I think he's put himself up there with some of the greats. I'm very keen now to see like this next era and sort of Maro Itoje's in his career, because of now as his leader, because it does look like now I think until he basically retires, he's going to be captaining sides. Like, I can't see him even with Farrell back for England, you probably like Itoje as their captain is a new era which I'm keen to to see. And but yeah, not tell you right. So you get the nail on the head there.
And honestly, you would be stupid not to name him as your captain in any one of the sides he plays. Like whether Doris should have been captain or not, his injury is not there. It is like the only captain conversation for the Lions was between Doris and Itoje, even before Doris got injured. Like that's the thing is Itoje just cruises into leadership and captaincy roles in all the sides he plays because he is literally that good.
Yeah. So, Cooks, what do you think the Lions do? Are they going to give Jamie George and the boys the third test, or is Farrell going for 3-0?
Nah, I think it's gonna go 3-0. It's just seeing that because some guys are like, no, you've got to rotate. Some guys obviously they'll need to play a test match. I'm like, test matches are earned, It's like you're just going to give it for the sake of it. Because then I think from the Lions, I'm going. I think obviously there will be some rotation a little bit, but I'm going for broke. I'm going for 3-0. There's no Finn Smith that the boys are playing, or Jamie George, or whoever Scottish fourth choice prop was made on tour. Like that's what I'm going. I'm going for the 3-0. Like again, Andy Farrell also because I think Andy Farrell also a chance to make history. I can't remember when Northlands have won 3-0. I mean that's what the
I
players
think
want.
the 70s, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
so create history. Win 3-0. Get a serious whitewash. And then you're sort of going like that's what people expect you to do. So go and do it. Don't give the Wallabies a sort of a lifeline and don't give them an out. So if I was him, I'm going for the whitewash.
I I think there will be changes, and those changes will be those players that were literally on the fringe that deserve to be test lions and aren't. Gary Ringrose. Ringrose played the first test, but
No.
did he? I can't remember. No, he didn't. He's not. No, Gary Ringrose, Josh van der Fleer. Those two will be capped by this time next week,
Yeah.
because those like you don't look at this Lions tour before when they announce the squad. You don't look at this Lions tour and go, Van der Fleer and Ringrose don't get capped if they fit. You don't. There's no ways. No one would have said it. Like. So
Yeah, I mean, it's just about whether Ringrose has obviously gone
yes,
through his concussion symptoms. I mean, we haven't had a chance to talk about it, but like really big shout out to him for, putting his long-term health first and not playing on Saturday because, the story was he was selected, he was scheduled to play, and he told the team, look, I'm still feeling the concussion symptoms. He was concussed, I think, in the Brumbies game, so he wasn't eligible for the first test, but he had to play in like the majority of that Pacific Islands game. And, he stood himself down, and that's a big example. Like, we know how much, in a big test like this, how many rugby players would want to play, even in spite of their long-term health. And it's a big thing that Ringrose did that. It's hopefully an example that others can follow. I mean, yeah, you can talk about maybe, he shouldn't have maybe have been in this position. Maybe he shouldn't have played on the Tuesday, but it seemed like he was fine for Tuesday and he sort of met all the protocol. It was just that the symptoms came back. And I mean, that's the thing with concussions, like, the head injuries, they're not as sort of linear and predictable as possible. But yeah, massive shout out to him. Hopefully he can play on Saturday. I don't know. I think it's probably unlikely. But yeah, I guess it'll be more of a freshening of the team. I mean, Tom Curry is being held together by tape. So it'll be great to have Van der Fleer on. I think Byrne might also be someone that, is given the week off. I changed the back three. I'd maybe put Kinghorn on the left wing just because James Lowe hasn't really
15.
had a good. I would go Kinghorn, Hansen, Keenan as my back three.
So interesting. The back three has been very interesting. So one thing I did hear about Keenan is that he was like sick for 10, 12 days when they arrived in Australia, lost like 5 kilograms or something. I mean, that guy can't
More, I
afford
think like 10.
Oh wow, he can't afford it anyway. And so yeah, there's that, which I must apologize because I was just like, he's playing such shit rugby at the moment. Meanwhile,
Oh,
our guy
meanwhile,
can't hold it together. But the Lowe's been interesting. They haven't used him for those big exits that we're so used to seeing with Leinster and Ireland. The one thing Lowe can do is if you don't shape up properly to tackle him, he will beat you. Like that. That is one thing, and we saw it this weekend. Freeman's numbers have been really good for non-wing stuff. Like he's been actively involved in so much. So it'll be interesting. Kinghorn for me has to play at 15. So I would start Kinghorn, and I think you're right. I think Hansen does deserve something, but yeah, that means that Freeman's got to get dropped. So yeah, maybe if Ringrose doesn't make it, then you move Freeman to 13. We're really taking the piss here. So yeah, I would put King on at 15, and I'd like to see Hansen start, but not at the expense of Freeman.
yeah. So we'll see. I think they'll sort of just freshen things up there. Like, yeah, I'm obviously like there's especially with a game like Saturday, you putting yourself all the way through in order to get that win. I mean, we've seen some of the celebrations. Seems like the Lions have had a great time like the last few days. Like Banyaki with that sort of that wreath of Kit Kats, that was really cool. Like them drinking in the middle of the MCG, like that's like a bucket list thing. I'd
Oh
love to do
man.
that. Like that is so cool. I wish one of them brought like cricket pads or something. Like, guys, come on. You
Yeah, I
need to
think I
you need to
think the
capitalize.
tour, it must be such a massive load off winning the tour in two. There's a lot of pressure. Like, if we're very honest, the Lions went in there as 3-0 favorites. And they were pushed for both tests, but they managed to get out of it. Like, they were the best prepared I've ever seen a Lions side. They got a couple things wrong. Team selection wise, it just didn't seem to be clicking. They had the issue in the midfield, which was quite a speed bump for them. But I think what a load off, and to do it at the MCG and then just go sit there and have drinks and eat Kit Kats is amazing.
Yeah. I'm also loving the little friendships that are happening. Like it seems like Gen just seems like he's the most popular person there. Like he's mates with Belam, he's mates
Yeah.
with Morgan. Like
Shout out to Ellis Genge as a
he's been
player
playing
first.
fantastic.
Yo,
He, I would say now he's now in that sort of like the only person he needs to now answer to in terms of loose heads is Ox
Yeah.
Uche. Like he's
He's
been
been very good.
fantastic. Like, and I mean, even through the Six Nations, like the scrumming is a lot better. He's carrying like an absolute animal. So like he's been fantastic. But yeah, he seems to be also like if you're watching those Ultimate Lions YouTube episodes, he's the main motivator of the team.
Yeah.
Like he's
yes.
the Keith Wood sort of figure for them, and he's the one shouting and sort of like doing the geeing up before the game. So like it's crazy. Like I mean, what 6 years ago would have said Genge is this hot head and all that sort of stuff, and he's just matured into this like lead of the Lions type of player. And
He's like
what
a
the heck's
glue
he doing?
guy. He's
Yeah,
almost the glue guy for this whole team of multiple nations. It really
yeah.
does look that, which is pretty cool. And Finn, like him and Finn just seem to be like just doing all sorts of stuff with everybody all the time.
No,
Yeah, so
I do enjoy like I think the Lions tour. Like, it's also fun, like you mentioned, like you do find these odd characters, and I always say it's a testament to the coaches. How do you bring all these dogs together, man, who spend more time playing against each other, and now you gotta spend like 3 months together basically. Well, like so it's like it is very interesting to hear. I'm not telling, I'm waiting for the next Ultimate Lions sort of episode. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's gonna be there'll be it'll be probably one of the best ones yet post sort of celebration beers. I loved us when someone said that Andy Farrell's, I think Charlie Morgan said that how guys recover from the hangover is going to be key this week in selection. See who's who's standing because they're definitely at a big celebration on Saturday.
But then we'll probably see more Irish players because the Irish players have a very different relationship with their head coach because he used to be the Irish head coach, and that's probably why the English and the Scots and the one Welshman are having
Yeah.
having a jaw.
they had to still answer to Faz after this as well. Yeah, I know he gets a lot of crap, and I mean, we're very much a pro Owen Farrell podcast, but just seeing how like joyful he is about when the Lions are scoring or winning, all that sort of stuff. Like, I mean, he seems like a good hang. Like, I mean, he might be hated by fans and like, with reason, I guess, but like he's just also enjoying, I think, this part of his career being like the more cuddly senior citizen. Like he's choosing the Dan Biggar route of being a bit more sort of like wholesome than the Sexton route of still
Oh
hating
yeah.
everyone, wishing death on everyone.
It's gonna come out again that everyone that will talk so highly of him, saying that he is the most respected player in the squad, adds the most value since he came in, and wow, they're so impressed with him. And everyone will watch that and just be like, oh, they're talking shit. I know better. Owen Farrell's crap. It's
Yeah.
gonna be the same old, same old.
It's
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that last episode, like you said, Fitz.
no, it's gonna be good fun.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, also just last shout out to Banyaki being I think he's the fines minister. And yeah, I think that one
Ooh.
episode he was, yeah, like he runs a bit of a dictatorship there, Bundy. So we know like what he does, like in celebrations, like obviously in the New Zealand celebration, he was stealing chicken from people's
Yeah.
lunch boxes, whatever the case was.
I think they made him the fines master because it was kind of like, you give the rebel some responsibility so he
Yeah.
doesn't go completely off the rails. I almost feel like that's why he was given it, because it'll just go Pete Tong.
Yeah. Let's change gears. Let's talk very quickly through this. I mean, I don't think there's too much to talk about the Springbok squad, but I mean, I guess the main shock is who is not there in terms of, some players that are on standby and, some of the players that have been included. But Cooks, it does seem like, we mustn't read too much into these Springbok squads. I think the goal here is to sort of give players some game time and then, target those four big away matches throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, I mean, Russell did mention he was going with sort of almost full strength squad. Now, I think obviously all the guys have been rotating. I think now it goes down to the business end. I squad of 36 or 37, but and what's interesting for me, like Thala, you mentioned, you look at some of the guys have been left out. I'd have loved to see obviously Vincent Chutuka stay in the squad, but like a Jean-Luc du Preez comes back. It did feel like Cooper's V said it was sort of that game against Georgia. It was more of a test to see how he goes at eighth man. I felt like he was going to be in that mix. I felt like I don't think Rassi is an Evan Ross guy. I mean, he was in the squad initially, and you sort of gone with Jean-Luc, and you sort of gone, yeah, like Jean-Luc, and you've got Corpus is your eight. So you think yourself like, oh, then Kwaka probably. So basically, it's three guys who don't play eight, and we'll sort of make sure the eighth man kind of shows with how it looks like with Evan, and so. That's the interesting thing. I mean, I think the Faf de Klerk is also quite big. I know the same potential injury as well, but yeah, I think I'm just very keen to see where we go, like the side we play against Australia, because you look at like there's some positions you look at, Ox is playing well, Hooker. I mean, I thought Mark was good, but again, it still feels like Hooker. There's a big gap from Marks to the next guy, and then you look, and then Tighted, obviously it's like you got Tlabakanya, hopefully he makes a step up as Koch there as well. So there's a lot. I mean, Volko as well, and is Volko going to cement that jersey as well? So my thing is like Flower for me, like does concern me as well in terms of like, is Sasha going to find some form? Because out of all that Flowers we've played, he's not played these. He's not played as well as out of all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good squad. It's a strong squad. I mean, like in the day, like I just want to win the Rugby Championship again. Like it's so funny. Like we're in such a dominating place to be, but like we've never defended the Rugby Championship before, all the Tri Nations. So yes, as much as we all thinking all roads lead to Eden Park, we got two massive games against Australia and the Rugby Championship. If you're playing Australia twice at home and Argentina, that's the three home games. That's the ones you want to take those and run, and hopefully at least leave with 2 out of 3 bonus points, if you can. So, I mean, as much as I know, everyone's like thinking already, okay, we've got the All Blacks. I'm thinking, okay, guys, let's get through these Wallaby games, hopefully leave there with, I mean, 9 points. I'll take that and run in 2 games and then get a campaign underway.
Yeah. Sure.
I'm also very worried about the Wallabies because just purely because of the minimal games they've had, they will be building, like using all these building blocks to face the Springboks, because I think they can see them upsetting us, and we are a lot of people's final as well, just purely because we're back-to-back world champions and we've got all the depth in the world. So I think Rusty's going to be hitting the guys really hard with just making sure that they don't get complacent.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Like, I know their form hasn't justified it, but the Hendrickse brothers both just not really getting a look in. Like, it's very interesting for me how they've fallen off so badly. And then, yeah, the conversation around like Jean-Luc, I think this is his I think this is his time. I mean, I think this is it. Yeah, I think this is it. Like, it was his time, and then Visser's like, don't worry, my little brother will cover my spot for me. So yeah, it's there's some good things. There's a lot of really good positives with the squad, and one thing I really like that we've all got so used to is that we get 3 squads named in a rugby championship. Like, it used to be 1, and there were guys going in and out. Now we have like a squad for these 2 games, and then we get another squad named for the All Black series, and then we get another squad named for the away trip to Argentina. So yeah, but I like it. I do. There are a couple places that make me nervous, but that's only because I want to see the match day 23 first, and it's more about how everyone pitches up when that whistle goes for the first test.
Yeah. I think though, I'm not saying it's not a priority, the Rugby Championship for the Springboks. I think if it was, maybe he would have gone a bit safer and said, look, I gave Hooker a test, I gave maybe, someone like Kobus Visser a test. Let me now get in the more experienced players. Maybe Morne van der Berg, like I can, survive with Faf there. But I do think then there is a chance, or I can see at least for one of the tests, and maybe he'll sort of mix it a bit better, is that Hooker gets a few minutes against the Wallabies, Edo van der Merwe gets a few minutes against the Wallabies, Morne van der Berg, and obviously Boan Venter and Tlabakanye. Maybe he doesn't do like a very strong side and a not so strong side like we did last year. It's more of okay, Venter's on the bench with Vincent Koch the 1 week, and then Tlhabakanye's on the bench with Oxenchair the next week, or something like that. So we'll see a bit of mixing and matching. But I think, yeah, we've talked about it. Jean-Luc du Preez, this is your chance. Like, if there's any opportunity for you to not be official bag holder and squad attender of the Springboks and sort of now move on to something. I don't even know if he gets like a real like room. Like, he probably like has to share with someone, like one of the staff, because he's always leaving after 2 weeks. But this is your time. Maybe being a dad now will help with that. But like, he surely has to start at least one of the games at 8. Like, I'd be very surprised if it's Kobus Visser at 8 or Kolisi at 8 or Kwagga at 8. Like, he has to start one of the games. And this is the game to sort of impress and to put yourself in that conversation. Like, I mean, the opposite of that is obviously Evan Roos. Like, it's looking late for you. But yeah, I mean, if Jean-Luc can take this opportunity, then you do have like, the Kwaggas and the Kobus Vissers that can be sort of emergency 8s. That's a good position to be in. But yeah, it's now up to Jean-Luc to actually show that. And, the Wallabies aren't the strongest team in the world, but as we saw now, if they play close to their ability, it's a good test still. So, and I mean, it's so weird, the things that Joe Schmidt has been saying. It seems like they've been using the Lions series to build to these South African games, because every time he talks in the interviews, he talks about the Springbok games. And obviously, they're the world number 1. It's 2 big away games. And for Australia, I mean, this is the ultimate test for them. But yeah, so I think, Sean, you are right. Like this team might be actually sort of getting better and better. And yeah, maybe that also dictates what the Wallabies do this weekend for selection. Because I think they play on Saturday and then they pretty much go straight to the
Yeah,
airport
it comes to Africa. So yeah, the plan Saturday, which is yeah, and then they fly here. Then because they'll have a week off, and then they'll play us.
No, they play next week.
No.
No, it's a week off. 16th.
Oh, they do have a week off.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
They got a week off, and then but I'm sure that they'll fly quite early. So it is a quick turnaround. Obviously, I think for their season. I mean, to go Lions tour and then straight into the Springboks. That's a tough way to start
Insane.
season. Then you ending off with what you call it. And I think they've got. It was the All Blacks. Oh no, sorry, the All Blacks have got their Grand Slam tour this year, but. Yeah, I think yeah, for the Springboks, I know a lot's dictated on that. I would love to see Jean-Luc du Preez start, but sure, I'm really looking forward to the championship.
Just really quickly, I'm sorry, I know we're wrapping up. Is that it for Evan Roos? Is Evan Roos going to be the new Jean-Luc who will come in to cover?
Pretty much. I think he's I
think so, because I'm like, I mean, as much as. And I do feel bad started for him because I thought he was good off the bench in PE. And I thought he's at least in that mix that is the only 8. He sort of maybe booked himself a start against Georgia. But now when there's guys who played lock or guys like Cooper's Visas and has been moved to lock to cover 8. And I don't know. It does. And for me, which I do find strange with the Roos thing is that like, the way like Jasper plays, and you see what Rassie wants from his 8th man, and Roos kind of you think you tick all those boxes, but I don't know. I'm worried about it. Remember, he was in the original squad. I think we forget that like he was in the original squad anyway, so he might just be coming as cover.
Yeah, it just isn't really. And yeah, I think he's been improving. I think he's done the things that you want him to do in order to be a test match player. Yeah, I mean it's. Unfortunately, maybe his hit rate hasn't been great in tests. Like, yeah, I think maybe the Georgia game is probably one of his better games. But yeah, even last year, there were some opportunities because Jasper once again was suspended and he didn't get those games. So it does look like, Roos is sort of taking that. If Jean-Luc does play well, then Roos sort of takes that Jean-Luc, like holding tackle bags for 2 weeks and then out of the squad position. Yeah, so that's, I mean, it shows the depth, but yeah, it's just crazy. It's so weird. Like all of the generational number 8s that we saw during COVID, all of them have had like really tough times in making it into the teams or are not maybe fulfilling their potential. Like remember when we were like Roos, Sotutu and Harry Wilson were basically raw rugby. And yeah, I mean Wilson is I guess at least the Australian captain, but the other two have had their struggles. So yeah, the other thing I want to quickly point out is I think there's a bit of a battle for the number 5 jersey and / number 20 jersey. I think Lood de Jager is obviously playing like he looked really good in the test he played. Mostert is obviously Mostert, and Ruan is playing fantastically. So I think it's up for grabs there. So that'll be very interesting to see how all 3 of those go.
Instead of Aches Neyman who covered there as well, but I think obviously. Is probably going, okay, I'll go back to covering 4 now with the Oaks can fight it out. And yeah, flipping now, like let's come back as like guys, so I'm here to get my jersey back. So who are these two? Like most used to cover for me like there's new care guys, like so who are these guys?
So yeah, now I think it's a real challenge because I thought I was pleasantly surprised that Lood was playing to that level. I thought, okay, like if we still get some moments, great, but like he looked like he can do a job in a big test. Okay, guys, let's quickly talk about the women's box. They played against the Black Ferns developmental team and actually acquitted themselves relatively well. So apologies in last week. I think or at least I thought it was sort of the Black Ferns, like the actual test team, but it was actually sort of an A team. And so I think they only have 1 or 2 players that are in the World Cup squad that the Black Ferns announced during the week, but they lost 26 points to 34. But I think Kooks, it's relatively encouraging. Like the women's box have obviously pretty much the same strengths as the men's team in terms of, set piece, dominating up front, and they are getting some sort of purchase from their backline. But I guess the star of the show, and we probably go as far as if we get to a quarterfinal, it's going to be built on our tight five and Asiza Hele's shoulders.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, she was incredible as well. But also, Kumisa Kawe was carrying, like, she's like, I says a hell at 12. Like, I love the fact
Yeah,
we're gonna have the pack. I says a hell, we're like, then we're gonna have one of the better ball runners at 12 as well as a captain, and then we're gonna go out in these show, and then at Universe, we just create some fun football from there. But it is encouraging. It's very much encouraging with the a women's side is, and especially now, like this is the best prep they've been going into a World Cup, which is exciting. They've played Canada was a second, was ranked number 2. Now you're playing this to build a Blackfern side. At least now they're going to the World Cup, and I mean, again, it's all on the test against Italy. That's the big one. I mean, that's the one where that's our final before that's our final essentially because that gets us to I think it'll be our first ever quarterfinal. Um, so I think we are building nicely. And Tony, you mentioned like it's we the Springbok women's side is that they're getting a brand and they're getting more exposure, they're getting more game time, which is nice. I mean, obviously you can see the work already at Swiss in Bafana Leko and they're putting already. So now it's just about for me is they're getting better and better, and I'm hoping that it's peaking at the right time. I can't wait
yeah.
for the World Cup. I can't wait. I mean, listen, the last Women's World Cup, I mean, that was incredible. Like, obviously, New Zealand, like, I mean, like, as excited as I am for the Black guys, I'm like if you look at England, like, again, I think they probably lost like
There's a
one
squad.
test since their World Cup final, something stupid like that. So, I mean, like, they respond by losing the World Cup final by hiring John Mitchell. I'm like, so it's like everything goes down. I mean, Blackfoot will still be there, you know. So I'm very excited. I really hope. I'm loving it. We go. I was from women's size playing. I can't wait for this weekend as well.
Yeah, no, some good results. Wales beat Australia in Australia this weekend. Um, Italy also had a victory against Scotland. I think they played in Scotland this weekend. Japan beat Spain. I think Brazil women who are also in our pool, they're not doing so well, but they're at least also getting warm-up games. Yeah, that Italy game's going to be tough because Italy, I think, is looking quite good. They're obviously a very like great outfit with like a few world-class players, especially Rigoni, but yeah, the Boks have a chance and they just have to find a way to limit sort of the mistakes in other areas of the game and to really sort of capitalize on their strengths, I think. But yeah, they start with Brazil and they should win that, but I don't think that'll be a foregone conclusion. They need to obviously pitch up for that. And then it's Italy, which is kind of perfect because if if they do the business those two games, the France game doesn't matter. And obviously France will be big favorites in that third game. So yeah, things are happening. Squads are being announced. The New Zealand squad looks good. The England squad looks really good. Yeah, it's yeah, the World Cup starts in 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously now England is hosting it. The football team just won the Euros. So yeah, I think there'll be a lot of support also for the Red Roses. So yeah, I think we'll see. And also just if you want to hear from Swayze to Brain, he did an interview with Hugh Griffin for his podcast, and he talked about, coaching the women's team and sort of the intricacies of that. So yeah, I think that's something to look to listen to as well. Okay, gents, so we will see. I mean, yeah, the Currie Cup has started. We don't have too much time. We just saw Boland do a big comeback win, and yeah, the Lions absolutely.
Kept the ball for 8 minutes to win it. How wild is that? I mean, you don't see that anymore. 8 minutes and Boland's back, which is quite exciting. Currie Cup season. I mean, Sharks, my goodness, jeepers. Whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, got an absolute hiding from the Lions. So I'm sure Ringo's been happy about that after all the grief that we've given him, and especially it was the scene of the crown of that mess of the Currie Cup final loss. But no, I think Currie Cup's gonna be a good one, especially with all the youngsters playing, all the Baby
Yeah,
Kooks
under
playing.
20s.
Yeah, so very, very keen to see what the Currie Cup. But hey, Poland,
Yeah,
you don't want to go down to Wellington.
no,
Harvey's
no.
Fourie doing one over his older team.
Yeah.
Guys, and as Sharks fans, why are you giving Klikani to the Lions if the rumors are true?
You're
Yeah, it looks
breaking
like
up. I can't hear you.
I think it was a game time thing. I think, to be fair, like I mean, I was frustrated he wasn't playing earlier for the Sharks, and I think because I think he had a good Currie Cup last year, and then I think it's a game time thing. I think the Lions they've done very well to sort of scoop him up. I mean, for the looks of it kind of the deal was kind of done before the World Cup. So by the time you bring
Mm,
up the Lions, like all the best, man. Yeah, like it's cooking. Like it was like, oh, Sharks have got a gem. They're like, nope, it's going to the Lions. I think, but I think the nice thing with the Lions, I think you can get into the UFC side immediately. Uh,
Yeah.
so I think
Geez, but the Lions have, sorry, Kooks, but the Lions have a lot of depth there at loose forward,
they
to
do.
be fair.
They do. I mean, the Sharks last year, I mean, he played about a lock as well in the Currie Cup. So he became I mean, for the Lions, it's a hell of a signing. It's just so nice for the Sharks to borrow him to the Lions for. He's basically on a 4-year loan. That's what we're going to do. They're going to snap him back in a few years' time.
As what happens usually. So yeah, Ringo, just prepare for that buyback clause that the Sharks activate, once he becomes fantastic. Okay, gents, let's wrap it up there. Thank you so much for listening to this Rugby Bits podcast. Yeah, we have a lot to look forward to. The Lost Lions test is happening. We'll be, I guess, starting to build up to the Women's Rugby World Cup as well. So please like and share and subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, on YouTube if you want to watch our beautiful faces. Or please follow us on our social media channels as well for any updates that are happening in the rugby world. We'll see if Australia or the ARU takes World Rugby to court. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of shenanigans will be happening in the next few weeks. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Cheers,
Bye.
everyone.